Hi guys, we are back with another ants subong video. In today's video, we are going to talk about a few species of local ants, which I have in my collection. It will be shown in a totally new perspective, from the ant's eye level. Please bear with me, if I get a little long-winded in this video. But I will try to give as much information about them as I can, through my experience in keeping them. Hopefully one day, that some of you will be able to own one of the species. Well, at least you will know exactly what they are and what to do after watching this video. And let's begin. Odontomachus Rixosus are ants that use their jaws for capturing prey and for fighting with other ants. Being a trap jaw ant, they launch into the air by literally jumping with their jaws backwards by snapping them together. The jaw jumps, while swift and powerful, were difficult for the ants to control. The motion typically propels the ants backward, flipping them upside down and requiring a moment of recovery time, which could be critical in escaping a hungry predator. Scientists recently discovered a trapjaw species that leaps with its legs, a behavior that is extremely rare in ants and previously unknown in the trapjaw family. Odontomachus Rixosus have evolved to jump forward that make this species totally unique. But leg jumping in ants is exceptionally rare. I am not sure if the forward jumps are used solely for escaping from danger or for ambushing prey. Here is the short clip of Rixosus jumping forward from leaf to leaf. Let's continue watching her. On the next ant, the famous and yet common Odontomachus Simillimus, and they are an urban trap-jaw ant. You can find colonies of these trap-jaw ants in gardens, parks and sidewalks. I have covered this species in my previous videos, explaining what to look for if you have decided to buy a trap-jaw colony. If you want to know more, you can click the iCard on the top right corner after this video. They are not the easiest trap-jaw species to keep, but they will grow exponentially if their habitat is perfect for them. My colony always demands food even after feeding them the previous day. No matter what insect feeds you give them, they will just take it into their nest, big or small. They never like to feed in the open. By hook or by crook the food needs to get into the nest. I tried to make their food a little bit more manageable where they can pull and drag their food back to their nest. They will clean out the trash after they finish eating. There are times that unfinished food gets stuck in their nest and fungus will take over. If it's bad, they will be forced to move out to another nest. So if you decide to keep this species, just make sure, your nesting area, there is a way to clean it out. Let's observe her. Let's move on. Polyrhachis Modesta is a widespread Polyrhachis species locally. They will only fly during their nuptials, else they are very elusive and hard to find. These species are polygenous, meaning you can put multiple queens into a colony. I feed them food that consists of insects and a sugary diet. They love honey water in particular, hence you see their brownish gaster filled with honey, and otherwise they are black. Polyrhachis Modesta queen is 8 to 9 mm, while the workers are 5 to 6 mm in length. They have 4 sharp protruding spikes, a pair at the end of the thorax, and another pair at the petiole. Petiole, it is the part between the thorax and the gaster, simply put it. Polyrhachis Modesta is a day ant. Their activity never really stops. Polyrhachis Modesta are a kind of weaver ants and use their larvae to weave a nest. Being a weaver ant and having the characteristic, they are exceptionally very good climbers. I have tried almost any type of anti-escape application, and until today, I still wasn't able to stop them from escaping. Although it is a small colony that I have, I always find one escapee every morning. I cannot imagine having a big colony. Eventually, I finally tried baby oil and have since reduced their chances, well at least I don't see any outside of the nest for some time now. They do well in a naturalistic formicarium, preferably made out of acrylic or glass. This makes the anti-escape barrier more effective than applying on other materials. This species are easy to keep as they do not need any regulation on their humidity and temperature. They prefer drier nests to moist ones. Occasionally you just need to spray moisture in. They usually build their nest in trees, twigs and spin web threads by using the larvae. Other than a thin bed of substrate, you must provide a nesting medium for them to make their nest. I give them dry moss, crushed dry leaves, and they like to cover the surface with silk. In a naturalistic setup, Polyrhachis Modesta will grow rapidly. If space is not enough for nesting, they do build a satellite nest, sometimes even on the ground and covered with a bed of silk. They need a good enough living space for them to thrive. At the end of the day, I encourage more protein-based food for guaranteed growth of the larvae. Next up, my multi-queen color Polyrhachis ants. They show signs of different colors in the colony. I've had trouble keeping this species as they don't do very well in a test tube setup when they get up to 5 workers. I do not know why, but the workers will die off slowly. I did not manage to get the numbers up. Let's have a look at them. They are one of the prettiest Polyrhachis I have other than dives. As I have observed them for a while now, they are a very social ant species, especially with the multi-queens, forming a tight bond taking turns caring for the broods. They even give trophallaxis among each other. There is one dominant queen in this nest, I'm sure you can guess which one. She is quite bossy and wants things done her way. Let us continue observing them. Next ant. Odontomachus Bicolor, a silverish metallic color of ants. Until this day, I am still very passive about this species name. In early days, I knew it was a common Australian meat ant species. It's very hard to tell them apart, but we can see the similarities. Some say it is not Bicolor but Odontomachus anceps. No matter what we call them, they are of the same genus. They show very territorial behavior. Odontomachus are scavengers. They forage quite widely from their nest and feed on dead animals, catch insects, and collect nectar from plants. They usually build a large nest with several entrances, between rocks and pavements. Even with their sheer numbers, Odontomachus are harmless, however having them swarm over your feet and legs is not pleasant. They have an irritating ticklish bite and emit a smell from them when squashed. It is faint, but maybe it's from the fruits I have given them. They are, however, fascinating to watch, especially looking at the amount of broods that the queen produces. I have read somewhere this species exhibit an age caste system, meaning where the specific job of the ants changes with age. The colonies can grow to about tens of thousands of workers. In the wild the nest is very large, and can have multiple entrances. Odontomachus and play a vital role in nature's biodisposal. Let's check them out. Next ant. Nylanderia Pubens. They come in a form of millions of uniformly sized 4 mm long and orangey-brown color. Their typical foraging area includes indoors away from their nest. You can easily see them near your outdoor dumpster. I personally have not kept this species in a setup myself, but I assume they have the same traits as the common Nylanderia fulva which I have. They are not as fast-growing as fulva, as they are much larger. There is no issue with food and feeding behavior. They eat almost anything I gave them. They have nuptial flights all year round, but this particular species is uncommon. In this colony, the queens look quite similar to the worker ants, and they all look the same. Their brood consisting of larval and pupae stages. Pupae are naked or without cocoons. They sometimes produced wing males by accident. This happened to the last colony I sold, and I was asked questions about why there are 2 wing males in a 15-worker colony. A very beginner species and easy to raise, even in a test tube setup. Let's continue watching them. Next ant. This is a very common and conspicuous ant in my area. They are Tetramorium species. I believe it's Tetramorium bicarinatum from its size and red body and black-colored gaster. A very widespread species around the world. They can be found mostly everywhere, in your garden or backyards. For the most part, their colonies are small to medium-sized and highly polygynous. I've observed their nuptials on many occasions. I always mistaken them for Phytale parva, as they always fly together at the same time. Not until they shed their wing, you can't really differentiate them without looking closely at her curvy tail. I've kept this species in the past. Even if they are polygynous, they will kill off the lesser queens. Meaning, they kill and dissect the weaker queens in the colony, leaving only the strongest. Sometimes even getting rid of older queens as well. Let's continue to watch her. The next ant species doesn't need any introduction. Solenopsis geminata. There is nothing I can say here that you guys do not know about this species. Based on experience alone, it is not as bad as what the outside world has portrayed them to be, as aggressive, biting, and stinging ants. They don't really bite you unless absolutely necessary. There are times when they crawl onto my hands without getting a single bite, unless they are trapped and squished. Now, I am not saying that by putting your hands into a swarm of fire ants, I am just saying that getting a number of them on your hands won't encourage biting and stinging at all. They can also walk underwater for a period of time. You can try this by putting them into a container then filling water slowly, and you will see them walking in the water, and when their air runs out, they will float up and swim to shore. Let's continue to watch them. We reached the end of the video. Please support Ants Subong by liking and subscribing to my channel. I also want to take this opportunity to thank you all for achieving my 100 subs on this channel. I will continue to provide simple and good video, especially the Ants Subong tips, which many of you have requested me to make more of. That you ask, you shall receive. That will be the next week's post. See you in Keepers next week. Thank you for watching Ants Subong.